What's up, Soul Family? Coming at you with another collective reading. This one's gonna be on Mountain Road with You Are on the Road to Success. If you're interested in a one-on-one reading, you can do so by directly messaging me or the link in the bio. The first reading will be 35 for up to 20 minutes, and you can ask whatever question you want, or I can simply pull and see what comes out. If it doesn't resonate, then I'll simply refund you. That being said, let's jump right in. So let's see what's on the road and what's on the path, I suppose, and what we're looking at the moment. We have mice with discord among friends and family, or family. Stork with news of a birth or new business opportunity. And then we have grasshopper with situations in balance that require careful handling. So what tends to happen when your frequency mismatch with something, it could be like your environment or something along those lines, is that reality will almost like push you out of that environment because you're not meant to be there. Like it's almost like trying to put oil and water together. Like it cannot mix, so to speak. So when you're of a different frequency than what your surroundings are, then many times what has to happen is reality has to reorient itself and change for your surroundings to suit where you are. So many times that's why when people start to experience success or start to go down a certain path or start to orient their minds towards trying to accomplish something that could be bigger than what most people can perceive of, it tends to cause conflict among your friends and family and stuff like that, because now you're starting to see the disconnect between like where you are or what you're starting to embody and what you're becoming, and then the people around you. And that tends to get more and more and more, the contrast of that tends to get more stark as you progress and as you embody what you're becoming. So I think the energy that we saw, as far as like the first card that came out, was pointing towards that. Maybe there are like issues that are really delicately being handled as far as like your friends and family and stuff like that because of the path of success. And I think many times we're taught, so there's so many different, everybody who's successful is going to give you their own formula. They're always going to say that it was this, it was that, do this, do that. And I think that while everybody has very important inklings of truth behind like what they're saying, I think what can happen is we get it's almost like an information overload. Because then we have people telling us, you can't take everybody, but you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, right? So then there's so many different paradigms about being mindful about the people that you take with you. And while that's very important, obviously, I think it's a very delicate balance as far as discerning and handling the individuals that you want to keep around you as you then move from one area and one aspect of your life to another. And it really takes sitting down and actually considering all the elements involved. So I think that the situation that you might be interacting with is like you're on the path to money, and like there could be like all these conflicts coming up, and sometimes conflicts happen because we are then, as a result of these conflicts, able to then get a little bit more unified with the person we're having conflict with, right? Sometimes it allows us to shift perspectives and allows things and energies to move in a way where we're trying to get a better understanding. But sometimes there could be the energy of conflict, and then like nothing getting resolved. And that's where energies tend to kind of fall away or kind of push apart from each other. So basically, what I'm getting at is the path to money. It's like, I think it's you're having to discern through what you want to bring with you, what you don't, and like what really is important. And a lot of times when the Hierophant comes up, especially when it comes, at least with my experience of the spiritual path, because it represents like tradition and hierarchy and many times like religion. And in my experience, when we're navigating down spirituality, we're kind of breaking out of those paradigms. We're breaking out of those belief systems. Even when it comes to like structures as far as like the patriarchy and capitalism, and even adhering to just acknowledging that certain bodies or certain entities should have authority or power over the actions that you take or how you should conduct yourself. Many times, like once we're starting to expand in our awareness and start to interact with these concepts, it becomes one of those things where we have to start figuring out whether we're going to embrace these structures or if we're going to kind of break away from them. And in my experience, many times what tends to happen is the more you expand into spirituality, the less you want to lean into this. Like it's like the more you're starting to expand out of these ideologies, these belief systems, these imposed limitations that people in society and everything around you is trying to impose on you. Hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of just ranting, but at this point, I just trust what I'm saying is meant to be said, and whoever's going to hear it, it's going to hear it. And then we have the Nine of Cups. So it's like, I think a lot of times when we start to actually embrace, because Nine of Cups is a lot of the times the energy of self fulfillment and contentment within oneself. It's not always external. Like the Ten of Cups, yeah, we hit that energy, but the Nine of Cups is definitely pointing towards like that internal satisfaction. So many times it takes having to deviate away or either reconcile with like whatever belief structures that we are born into to kind of find that path and to actually find what we enjoy. Like we can't there is no way to know what we like if there's not a way to know what we if there's not a dislike to be had, right? Like you can't know that you like this brand over the other if there were not two brands to compare them to. Same thing with taste, same thing goes with like anything in general. So many times like when we're going through especially like very rigid structures, it's like we're then learning that we're not meant to be held within them many times, or at least we're learning like where we are held within them. But what I'm getting at is I think the Nine of Cups comes after we kind of reconcile and deal with that paradigm, so to speak. And a lot of times it's difficult because we have so many people, almost everybody around you in society telling you that things should be one way, when in reality, when you stop and think and look at things, it's kind of like, should it actually be? Like, maybe we should actually be doing something a little bit different or shifting the way that we're approaching things. And that's where the high priestess comes in, because high priestess is like the energy of like our intuition and like the unseen and tapping into like what we trust intuitively versus like what we are seeing externally. And that will forever be, in my opinion, like the most powerful thing is your intuition. Your intuition is always going to be the thing that tells you or guides you where you need to go. And the in the craziest of times, like it will always be the one thing that will speak out when things don't necessarily make sense otherwise. Like that's why you can walk into a room and you can just feel if something's like off. That's why people have saved their lives, because they just felt like somebody was just weird or they had a bad vibe from somebody, stayed away from them, then finds out that person's like a killer later on. And granted, that's like a very extreme case. But what I'm getting at is many times we have our intuition that guides us for a reason, and it tends to there is a balance between being like grounded and practical in the physical realm and the ethereal. But once you master that balance, it becomes one of the most potent tools that we have, especially to navigate trials in the physical realm. So I think a lot of the path to money is really, and this is my own personal advice. I mean, trusting your intuition, trusting you, trusting yourself, trusting like your vision. And I think if there is one constant between most people who've ever been successful, that is what they always say is trust you. And some people, of course, they give their own objective or subjective opinions and perspectives, and sometimes those are very valuable to take on. I'm not saying that they're not mentalities and things that people who are successful don't have, that they tell you that they did to become that person. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is you will know how to then get to that point. You'll know the way to then embody those things. Like the way that, people feel empowered are vastly different amongst each individual, and it's meant to be that way. We're meant to have these individual experiences and then be empowered and be drawn to and like different things, so we can then create different experiences for different people. So I'm gonna pull one more, and I think that is the path to money, is leaning in on like your own strengths, your own interests, the things that light you up and the things that you love. It's like that will always be the way that gets you to where you got to get to. Yes, and then we have the Hermit card. The Hermit card, it's like it's literally the energy of somebody who like is like they are their own guiding light. It's like you're trusting your own wisdom, you're trusting your own internal knowledge, you're trusting your own path to be what gets you to where you got to get to. And it's not to say that we can't, again, take knowledge and wisdom from other individuals, but the Hermit card is very much so a card of somebody who is, it's like, when you think about it, it's like the wise old hermit who lives on top of the mountain. It's like somebody who has, some different kind of way of being because they trust themselves. They have been in solitude enough to understand themselves, and many times when the hermit is ready to emerge from their isolation, that's when we're able to then reap the benefits of their knowledge. And there's a point in which you have to kind of get out of the cave and be able to integrate with other individuals. But the most important thing is that you went inwards, found that knowledge, and now you're able to then apply it to other individuals. And then last but not least, with the Six of Swords, it's pointing towards like as we do this, things are shifting forward. So it's like we have to trust that the path might not have been too easy, but we're heading into calmer waters, and it's not going to forever be like this energy of us reaching and reaching and reaching, and we're actually going to get to our destination at some point. But either way, peace and blessings, and I'll catch you guys in the next reading.